Welcome back to Discourse, the weekly occult and esoteric podcast hosted by myself, Abammon the Great, and Dr. Anna Stone. This week we're discussing spiritual psychosis and how it's manifested with the Rapture and artificial intelligence. Some of the content in this episode may be disturbing as we detail our own personal experiences with it. We encourage our audience to seek professional help if they find themselves in a similar situation. Breathe in, young magus, and let the work begin. Three, two, one. Okay, welcome back to Discourse with myself, Abammon the Great, joined as always by Dr. Anna Stone.
Hello.
This week we're going to be discussing spiritual psychosis because a lot of the news lately, I really didn't want to talk about the Rapture on here, but we were getting comments and I didn't think we were going to respond to the comments. It's just like, that's not something we need to touch on, but it seems really prevalent because we also wanted to talk about it in terms of like AI psychosis as well.
Right.
Like we wanted to do an episode on AI psychosis. So we're going to just do an episode about spiritual psychosis in general,
right.
Because it's a really important skill for occultists to have.
To be able to identify, especially
yeah.
if one is experiencing it,
Yes.
Because it's very important actually, because I think most of us get to some level of psychotic and when we're learning
Yes.
things like,
well, it's one of the biggest warnings on the occult. Like from an outsider's perspective,
sure,
that's one of the things they always say is like, don't dabble in the occult. You don't know what you're dealing with. It can drive you crazy, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it
100%
can. Yes.
Because the thing is that you're never going to get the answers. Like really, you're not ever going to find there's no end to the path,
Yeah.
And it's a rabbit hole with offshoot rabbit holes all along the descent, right? So it is real easy to get caught up. But I mean, just from my experience of, being on social media for many years now and seeing some of the comments and posts by people I know sometimes, or, sometimes are people I know, and I'm very perplexed by the amount of just blind faith without questioning anything, that someone will go like believe something to be true because they want it to be true.
Yes.
So this is a lot about psychology, truly. But it's a, just a cautionary kind of tale and information so that if you're experiencing it or you have experienced it, hopefully we'll, be able to help you identify that with this information.
Identify it.
Yeah.
Learn to recognize the signs.
And how to get out.
Yes. And I'll share. It's something I've been through quite a few times in my life.
You have. I don't know how I have not, seeing as how I've been confronted with some very crazy, insane things that shouldn't occur in my, in normal worldview, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or bad thing. I don't know if it's like, oh, you didn't have psychosis from that, so because you're already crazy. I'm not sure. But there's a saying in psychology where it's, if you're asking if you're crazy, you're not crazy.
Yes.
If you have experiences that occur and they are so out of this world compared to what you were taught is true and things like that, and it doesn't make you question whether or not it really happened, whether or not you're losing your mind, you might be crazy. It's possible. But the thing is that crazy, generalized term here, obviously not clinical, people don't question it. They just go with it. And you know this.
Yes.
Because you did that. Right?
What?
So you just ran with it. Like you didn't
Oh,
question
yeah.
it.
The worst one, the one that turned me into an occultist, that dragged me kicking and screaming onto this path. That one I was frustrated I was frustrated because nobody would listen to me, because I knew what I was experiencing was like reality. And I still kind of hold on to a little bit of it too. I'm never like, I was wrong.
You weren't wrong.
But
see, that's the problem here.
I was unhealthy. That's for sure.
Obsessed.
I was obsessed and unhealthy, but we can go into that.
Yeah.
Into that later. We'll share a little bit about my experiences. For the audience, you guys only know me as Abammon the Great Wizard, right? Yeah. I was not always a great wizard. I was a very unstable, dirty occultist for a very long time. Yeah, and before that, quite a messy person. So I'm definitely a testament to the power of transformation on the magical path.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, and likewise, despite the fact that I've had definite, crisis because of spirituality. I've been in crisis because having to reconcile what I'm experiencing with what I've been taught to be true was hard, has been hard, still is hard. But also it's, if you can frame it the right way, it can be transformative rather than, detrimental, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about, first of all, let me give you the definition of spiritual psychosis. This term is not new. It is not, it is in the terms of science new, but it really started being kind of a buzzword on social media, around the pandemic time, I think. But I can see why. But the actual definition is spiritual psychosis is a term often used to describe a state where an individual experiences severe alterations in perception, mood, and behavior that are linked to spiritual or mystical beliefs. While spiritual experiences can often be enlightening and transformative, psychosis can lead to disconnection from reality, causing distress and confusion. So spiritual psychosis, by definition, is something that you're experiencing or have experienced that literally caused your life to have problems. Like it caused you problems in your life. That is what a psychosis is, right? It's you're not functioning anymore the way you're supposed to be within groups or society. You might be demanding people's phones or something. It's so that you can talk to them without the government hearing you. So it's something that's detrimental in your life at the time, right? Causing either fear, paranoia. Okay, so let me backtrack. So the symptoms are hallucinations, auditory, visual, or even sensation, right? But the thing is that not always are hallucinations part of psychosis. So, delusions. What's a delusion? A delusion is a belief based on zero fact. Like literally, like if you were to say you were dating Mother Teresa, right? She's not even alive, and that's common. People have those. I mean, we know about the stalkers, the celebrity stalkers that do this, right? Where they think Madonna's in love with them or something, disorganized thinking. Now I'm guilty here. This one is funny because when I saw this, I was like, this is when you talk to somebody and they jump from one topic to the other incoherently and want you to keep up with them. This is like the hallmark of how I speak.
So, doctor, forgive me, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but it's my understanding just because you have one of these symptoms does not mean you are in psychosis, right?
No, of course. These are symptoms that can manifest.
So if you are experiencing one or more of these symptoms...
They'll tell you how to know. I got it. Yeah. Okay. So, but with the disorganized thinking is it's difficult to organize your thoughts, obviously. So then you have incoherent speech and, even just maintaining a train of thought, it could be difficult, which then impacts your ability to communicate with others. Mood disturbances. This is emotional fluctuations, like kind of rapid cycling, of mania, depression, or anxiety, and then even apathy, right? And then this one's really common, a feeling of specialness. A feeling of specialness. This is that you've been chosen, or have a special connection with a higher power, which, if you tell people that, they're going to probably not want to hang out with you. So that can alienate you as well. And then grandiose beliefs, like these are, so this, kind of sounds a little bit like narcissism, in case you haven't been keeping track. These are also the symptoms associated with narcissistic personality disorder. So, right. But the difference between that and also borderline personality disorder, the difference between those two and a spiritual psychosis is that the root of it has to do with some spiritual, religious, or mystical cause.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So these things, so a lot of times people undergoing spiritual psychosis can get labeled incorrectly, misdiagnosed as having a personality disorder. Then paranoia is the next one, the other one. It's paranoia. And that could be paranoia about things that are real, like, like people after you, or like demons, or, whatever, the government. Government's real common for some reason.
It is.
And the things what can trigger these psychoses is, aside from, okay, we're already assuming here that the person's in the occult, like working in the occult somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that there's some stress or trauma in their life. Substance abuse.
Yeah.
Substance abuse is like a big one, because we all know how hard it is to talk to somebody who's on something, right?
Yeah.
But this also just lowers inhibitions and allows people to be more like susceptible to things. That's a widely held belief in a lot of cultures, right? Is that you don't do drugs or drink alcohol so much when you're practicing some religious rituals, right?
Yeah, that's my personal gnosis on this, and this is really divides me from a large part of the occult community.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when you are taking substances, they not only open you up to these subtle parasitic influences, but they also filter you from, like, they dull you and filter you from the greater connection, right?
Yeah.
And especially when you're dealing with substances that are depressants, right? So alcohol, opiates, stuff that depresses, these are the ones that filter you the most.
Filter, you mean as like filter you off from the thing?
Filter you off from source, or whatever you want to call it. It makes your magic weaker, and that's a really divisive take in occultism, because ecstatic drunken frenzy is really popular right now in Hellenic reconstruction, and then it's also alcohol is a part of magical rites and religious rites, and always has been, right?
Yes.
I'm just talking about my personal gnosis on the fact, and I don't think that practice is a good practice. I know it's been with us for a long time,
but I don't know how that's.
I'll make an exception for psychedelics, although I personally don't.
Yeah.
I did at some point, and I got to a point where it was like, these are a crutch for me.
Yeah.
Like
you want to be able to achieve that without them, right?
Yeah. I found I got to a certain point with my entheogenic use in my psychonautry where I realized what I was looking for was God. And,
of course.
And that's when I left the psychedelics behind me. But I will say, like, psychedelics, there are entheogenic drugs that do help with the ecstatic state and help with the religious and the magical experience. But I'm pretty, like, depressants as a whole, it filters you and opens you up to parasitic influences.
Well, I've never heard of this. So I've always used alcohol in rituals, but not myself, as offerings. The idea of getting drunk to the point of ecstasy is just an excuse to get drunk. Yeah,
it was a part of Greek mystery religion, and it's a part of a lot of really ancient old religious rites. So people keep doing it, but we have to remember that just because it's like an old ancient religion doesn't mean that it's occult or magic. Occultists and magicians hold themselves to a different standard than your average religious practitioner, right?
So you're likely not going to be finding the actual good ones doing that. Like I think that's more of
that's just my own personal gnosis. So take
100%.
It's a very divisive take.
Why? Why do you think it's divisive? I completely agree, and I'm not.
I just know that a lot, like when I speak to other magicians or occultists about how, like, hey, like, if you're taking this seriously, like, you really shouldn't, be intoxicated
while you're doing ritual.
It causes right? some offense. Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was just a known that you're not supposed to be, like that.
Yeah.
I've never done ritual under the influence of alcohol ever. I don't think. Interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. So you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, because that's just gonna exacerbate like any of the problems that you're having.
We can talk about how it exacerbates like psychosis, paranoia, anxiety, that kind of thing, but also that there is a very real metaphysical reality, very real astral reality, that when you are in that intoxicated state, there are those parasites that latch onto you, and
it's called spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at how it makes people act. Just in general, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I have a drink every now and again, but it is not something that I like. I would absolutely never have that in my practice. Personally, you guys do what you want, but personally, no way. Not to say anything's wrong with having a glass of wine. You know what I mean? But like during ritual, it's just I'm trying to have my connection, and I don't need anything to kind of impede that. Or I wanted to know it's authentic too, right? So
yeah.
But the problem is that sometimes you get what you're asking for, and it can be highly overwhelming when you have that connection occur, right? And destabilizing. So there are some things that might predict if you are likely susceptible to spiritual psychosis, right? And those are having any other mental illnesses present, a history of them in your family, as well as drug and alcohol use, and then also, your cultural upbringing is part of it too. If you're somebody that is, so there's different types of spiritual psychosis. Okay, there's mystical psychosis, there is religious psychosis, right? So we're talking, like for us, it's going to be mystical psychosis probably. For someone that's brought up in the Bible Belt or in a very religious environment, it's probably going to end up being religious psychosis, right?
Or they think that we can look at the mass religious psychosis that happened last week with the Rapture, right?
Yeah. So, right. So so part of the hallmark features of psychosis relating to religious or spiritual practices or experiences is that you abandon all reason. Literally, like you abandon all reason. And I saw this so clearly with this Rapture nonsense. So I'm watching people that are allegedly pastors, right? Telling people on TikTok that Jesus is coming back on this date and this time. And they know that in the Bible, it literally says that no one will know the day or hour, right? And these people hear this pastor say that and they just flock to it. All reason people sold their houses. A woman gave her children to CPS because she was certain they weren't going to make it, not be taken. Another man and wife got in an Uber and passed on their savings and stuff like that to the driver because they didn't need it anymore. I mean, this is insanity. Like, this is crazy. Like, what are you talking about?
So there's something that happens when you get hit with a certain type of fear, when it's an existential anxiety or an existential fear, when you're dealing with really big themes like heaven and hell, apocalypse, end of the world, the type of dread and impending doom that you feel. So if you look at like a climate of a population that is severely unhappy, they may be overstimulated by how globalized we are with the internet, with social media, watching the news, unhappy with geopolitics, everything's scary. There's a generalized anxiety that's happening in this population of people, a generalized impending doom. And so all you have to do is strike it with the right fear.
Yep.
that generalized impending doom. You strike it with the right fear. It's an existential and apocalyptic fear, right? And so somebody says the rapture, they have this generalized feeling of impending doom, and then there's a path, and so they're like, how do I deal with this? Oh my gosh, what if the world really is ending? And then there's a pastor here that they trust, that's charismatic, they can look to, and that pastor is saying, like, the world's ending, this is what we got to do, we got to, mission for Jesus. This is the light in this kind of perfect storm of like this type of anxiety, this type of like impending doom that's like tied into this existential dread and existential fear is very, very painful. Yeah. And that's what the psychosis is. So even though you're feeling all this pain and everything's confusing and everything's going on, and this pastor is kind of striking the matchbox and igniting that's the exit. Right. That's that looks like the thing that's going to get you out of that fear state, Yeah,
I mean, I guess. I mean, that's cult territory now.
Yeah.
We're at a cult status there. Not a cult, but a cult, because this is what cult leaders do. They strike fear to keep people in line. They say these doomsday prophecy things. Yeah. And so anytime a pastor, a church is engaging in that, it's safe to say at that point you're in a cult. That is insanity. And these people don't know this man. This guy is on TikTok, some random. And it's just like, it was insane to me. So, obviously they came. And I was shocked to see when I went to work in the morning, there was nobody on the road. And when I drove home, there was no one on the road. And I was like, what is going on? Is this because of the rapture? And I'm not going to lie for a second. I was like, uh-oh. Shit.
Witches don't
I'm
get
still
rapture,
here. Okay.
doctor.
But no, it was that people stayed home from work. I mean, enough to where I got home from work in 27 minutes. Okay, like that's unheard of. So I was so shocked. And of course, the next day comes and they're all still here. Okay. So, now in true cult-like fashion, many of them, instead of owning up and being like, I was tricked, I fell for it, they have now recalibrated their date because of the Julian calendar, and Jesus, quote unquote, doesn't know we switched the calendar.
Yeah. Do you remember when this happened in 2011?
Okay, let me tell you how many times this has happened in history. I did research on this. We've had 4 popes, 8 French bishops, Christopher Columbus, Nostradamus, Newton. So like there's a list of it's thousands of people long. This has been going on since the year 67.
Yeah.
The first recorded account of the end of the world. Every generation believes that their generation is living in the end times. There is not one generation on record that hasn't had that exact same experience. But we're dumb and we don't learn from history, right? That clearly this is something that keeps being predicted over and over again and is wrong. But it doesn't matter, because to the people that believe it, they believe it. That's their reality. And it's really hard to admit you're wrong. So they double down. And now that's tomorrow, the October 6th and 7th. Now he's coming back. So we'll see. But that's a spiritual, religious psychosis. And it's going on. Yeah. Hot and heavy right now. And the year 2000, 2012, all these end of the world things, right? Still here. Okay.
No, there was, I think it was 2011 or 2010. Mm-hmm. There was that I don't know, maybe they were like Pentecostal or something. That was in Hollywood. Remember, they would buy the billboards that said like you were going to hell, and they would stand on the street corners in Hollywood. Oh, and yell at people? They had their and they had their date. Oh God! And then it didn't come true on that date. Oh, and then they moved the date like another like 2 or 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening now. Yeah. It's like I would at least maybe do a year's or maybe so that people forget what you said earlier, because you're wrong, And then these people don't leave they don't leave it. They don't go, oh, you lied to me.
Well, so yeah, then what's the so this is how we can kind of recognize this as a mass religious psychosis, because what's the third, like the second stage of psychosis is that frenzy, but the third stage is the kind of come down,
Right.
The cool
So
down.
but this is where it can go real bad for you, right? You know, so a lot of cult members, when they escape a cult or they're rescued from a cult, they will experience this issue where their belief system still lingers despite being reintegrated back into society, despite evidence to the contrary of everything they were told. So there's 3 stages to psychosis of any type. The first one is the prodromal phase, and that is the early stages. And this usually goes on for a really long time before anybody's even, questioned about it, right? Like, so how long did anyone question you about yours?
No. Nobody knew what was going on with mine. Yeah.
How is that possible? Weren't you in a relationship? How did this? How?
Because everybody thought that I was
Just
I don't know
weird?
what they thought. Yeah, like they were getting angry and frustrated at me.
Why?
They didn't realize that I was like not okay. They didn't realize that I was not in the same realm as them. So they like yell at me, get upset at me, tell me to knock it off,
Mm-hmm.
They didn't realize that I was like hallucinating and like I would tell them about
I was just
what
gonna say
was going on.
yeah.
I just don't think
They
they understood what
You'd
what they
say,
were
I'm
facing.
seeing this or that, and then they would just dismiss it like
Yeah.
you're making it up, like you're just being dramatic.
So I guess to provide some context,
Yeah.
should I go into
Yes.
it? Okay.
Yes.
So I think in 2015, I went to I was at a dark period of my life. I had just left my music career, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, because music had been my life for so long.
Existential crisis.
Yeah, so
Right?
I didn't really know who I was anymore, because my entire identity was wrapped up that I was a musician.
Yeah.
And then I got to a point where I hated music, and I hated like I didn't like working music, I didn't like writing music anymore, because I made it my job and learned how to hate it. And so I felt like I lost my identity, and I was in this like really dark place. I'd moved back in with my parents. I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do with my life, who I was.
Yeah.
I was having a quarter life crisis.
You're like you're in 20s?
I was in my mid 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and then at the same time, the political environment, the news, that was like right before the big election.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so everything was all stirred up. Everything was confusing. I had a sin that I was raised Catholic, and I had a very, very bad sin that I had gone to confession for multiple times. I was walking around, and I really carried it with me. It was really destructive on my psyche and my life, and I beat myself up. And so I went to a cathedral in downtown Los Angeles to get an indulgence for the forgiveness of this sin. And I walked through these things called the gates of mercy, and I got my indulgence. And God was going to alleviate me of this thing, this guilt that I'd been walking around with for, I think, like 8 or 9 years or something. And by the time I got back, I was in a full-blown psychosis. I could see this kind of eldritch oozing thing in everything. I could hear Satan like whispering in my ear, telling me that I needed to kill myself.
Oh my gosh.
My insides, they felt like they were on fire. And I was like that for a month. And during this time, this is when the Clinton emails got leaked. And or the Podesta emails got leaked, and I fell down the Pizzagate rabbit hole while I'm dealing with this psychosis.
You're on 4chan.
And I became convinced that Hillary Clinton and John Podesta were after me. And I was working at a Freemason lodge at the time as yeah. And so the combination of like what I was dealing with these conspiracy theories and this like deep psychosis where I thought the devil was trying to tell me to kill myself, and I was connecting all these dots. So I thought Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, and the Freemasons were after me. And that God and Satan were battling for my soul. And there was like, I couldn't listen to music. I stopped sleeping. Yeah. And this lasted for a month. I stopped sleeping because I was, if I was going to fall asleep, then the demons could get me. I had candles lit everywhere. And if the candles went out, then the demons could get me. So I wouldn't sleep so I could keep the candles burning, you know? And I just like,
and no one noticed this behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. So they noticed the behavior, but they,
okay.
I don't know what they thought was going on, but yeah, I scared a lot of people. There's, what you were mentioning, we were talking about at that part, with the phones. I was at a party with, some of my friends from high school that I hadn't seen since high school. And everybody could tell something was like really off about me. And so one of them kind of cornered me in this like living room and was like asking me about like what's going on. And I started like telling them, but not wanting to tell them because I knew everybody had cell phones on them, and Hillary Clinton could hear me through the cell phones.
Wow.
And so I asked the people that were in the group that were like asking me what was wrong. I asked them for their phones, and then I went and like threw them in a bedroom, and I was like, okay, now I can talk, like an empty bedroom. And then I was like, okay, now I can talk to you. And I started like telling them about how Hillary Clinton and John Podesta were after me, and that the Freemasons were trafficking children from the lodge to the Richard Nixon Library. And yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
But you believed it.
But I believed it. I absolutely believed it. And during this time I was doing gematria. And this is when I got into the Goetia, because I thought Satan was after me. The demons were after me. The demons were working with Hillary Clinton. And so I got the Lesser Key of Solomon, and I learned how to command demons. And I learned how to decode messages with Hebrew during this time. And slowly, as I learned magic, the paranoia lifted, and then I gained this confidence. And I had this kind of sight because I could see this like black oozing Satan thing that was in everything. And this would be just the evil influence, the dark influence, whatever you wanted to call it, right? And so when I came out of the psychosis, all of a sudden I was an occultist. And I had this like confidence, but I also had this thing where I can see now where the darkness and the grossness is in everything. I can see it in I can see it in the music, in the movies. I can see it in myself. I can see it in the people around me, right? And whereas while I was in that spiritual psychosis, it made me isolate and not want to engage with anything or anybody because it scared me. And now it's on the other side of it. It's something I'm aware of, but it doesn't frighten me. It doesn't scare me. It's just, I know it's there, and I have a choice to engage in it or not, right? Which is why like I don't watch the news anymore. Because I just like, I don't want to participate in that.
Oh my God, he gets so mad. I'll be like, oh my God, did you see the news today? This happened. And he's like, why? I told you. I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry. Like, I don't watch the news either. I don't. Don't.
And I like, you know, like listening to my favorite, one of the worst things about that spiritual psychosis was like, I was trying to find music that I could listen to that I couldn't hear it in. And all the music had that gross, just
dirty vibe.
Evil darkness in it. And I couldn't find it. And so now it's like I can hear it in the music still, but it's like I'm detached from it, right? It's like I can still enjoy the music. I can listen to drill, you know, music about like just straight murder,
Yeah.
like murdering people and glorifying drug dealing and murdering people and that kind of stuff. I can listen to that and know fully well, like, there's a lot of darkness and sickness in this music, but still enjoy it, and it doesn't scare me, right? But I have the sight, I mean, anybody has the sight to see that.
Yeah.
But
no, but I think, okay, so I
saying.
think from my psychological perspective and knowing you, not then, know nothing of this person you speak of, right? At all. Like, that's so hard for me to fathom that you were out of your mind that way.
Yes.
But it is what I hear, though, and I'm biased. I admit this, biased here, is that this was like having you confront the darkness in you by seeing it through everything else and understanding that it's all, like, you can't escape it. It's here. So what are you going to do about it? And this is part of the path, though, that you needed to be on, right? Because it's where you are now is because of this.
I am. It's funny because normally when you go to Catholic Church and ask God to, I don't think that's how that's supposed to work.
No.
When you go to get an indulgence, it makes you an occultist.
So I have multiple problems with this on multiple levels. Number one, if sins are so bad, the people, you're carrying around guilt for 8-9 years, and then the church is just like one day, okay, we're just gonna free for all, whatever sin you want, come and get it. It's absolved. Bullshit. I mean, that's so unfair to the people.
To make it very, very clear, I used the word sin. That was guilt.
I know.
I harbored.
Yeah, sure.
That was not something the church imposed on me.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the fear.
I went to the church for help to get rid of that guilt over this thing that I've been carrying around with me since I was 16.
But I'm just saying, like, the fact that they can just, it's fine now. But clearly it wasn't fine because it led you to where it led you, like, instantly. As soon as you were in the church, it happened. That is concerning. I wonder how many other people have that happen to, right?
I know. I'm very curious if anybody's ever had an experience like that.
Yeah, I have an article for you. I don't know if I sent it to you, but I have.
Because I don't think you're supposed to go into psychosis.
It's really common.
Yeah.
At the church. During those, there's an article I have here that I printed out, but it is about this exact topic, and I printed it for this episode, but it's to share with you guys, because it's Spiritual Aspects of Psychosis and Recovery by Dr. Susan Mitchell. And it's talking specifically about that. When the church does offer certain, pathways to absolve you of said discretions, the amount of people that undergo psychosis is very high. It's like one of the peaks. There's a correlation between these events and then the population having like fluctuations of psychosis. Yeah. So that's interesting. And this study was done in 2013. So anyhow, but that is a convoluted way where you got to where you are, right?
I don't think it's convoluted. I think it's a very important experience.
No, it's very important.
Extremely important experience in my life. I had a few spiritual experiences before that.
Yeah.
But I kept around like Christian mysticism, kind of New Age, like just a bunch of like. Yeah, not as deep as just straight occultism, right?
Yeah.
But that was a pretty massive spiritual experience in my life. And even though like I recognize I was severely sick, I was very mentally ill during that. It provides me a lot of meaning and a lot of perspective. And I haven't slipped into psychosis since that. So.
I mean, not that I've ever seen. And that's the thing is just because you undergo a spiritual psychosis or religious psychosis does not mean you're doomed. In fact, it's more common than not for it to be a one-off situation or maybe even twice, but not a permanent feature of your personality, right? Yeah. So you're describing things like seeing evil everywhere, which is scary.
I was very dualistic. Yeah. So I was very dualistic then. So everything was in like my mind was very dual. Hadn't like explored, philosophy and non-dual religion and that kind of stuff before. So everything was God versus Satan in that moment.
This is 10 years ago.
Yeah. 2015. Yeah.
That's so crazy. That's so recent to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, That's nuts. But hey, also,
I was before then, it was very much a kind of like, we're all one kind of like
yeah,
psychedelic,
yeah,
kind of hippie-ish guy.
yeah.
That liked, that was, I really liked, I really liked the Catholic Church, and I really liked mysticism. So
Yeah.
I just studied a lot of that.
See, and this is why, because of the history with the church and your background, that is why you're more susceptible to that happening, right? Yeah. It would not happen to me. That's not gonna happen to me. I'm not gonna go into some religious psychosis because I'm not religious and never have been. But around the same time as yours, I had mine. Crazy things happening where I died, which was a near-death experience is considered. So interestingly enough, while I was doing research for this, I found out that near-death experiences are considered to be part of spiritual psychosis.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of the outcome and the destabilizing nature of them.
Oh,
so because it alienates you.
Yeah.
Okay, so with a near-death experience, or in my case, an actual death experience where I clinically dead, when you come back from that, nobody can understand you. You can't share it properly. It's not possible. So you're carrying around this experience that you can't articulate verbally, that you can't reconcile really with what you know to be true on earth. But it also alienates you from people in the sense that you like have gained some perspective that you were not prepared for. And you see now who needs to not be in your life anymore. You see now like the dead weight, and you can't relate to the people that you used to relate to at all. I lost every single person in my life except for my kids. And by choice, like I could not be around them anymore. They were not on the right path for me. It was like a clarity, and it was brutal for some people because I just cut people out. I had to, but I was alienated and alienating. And also I was having a really hard time reconciling and have severe anxiety, over it. Severe. So I was paranoid, and I was paranoid that I was going to die again. I was, and when I was reading that, I was like, what do you mean near-death experience is considered? But thinking about it, yeah, it was, it still is something that I think about all the time. I mean, it shapes my daily activities, literally. But in my case, I mean, dying's traumatic, right? It is.
Yeah.
And then the way that they handle it after, just send you home that day by yourself, and your people at home are telling you that it was just your imagination, when you're like, oh my God, I hate you all. You know what I'm saying? Like it was really hard. But that experience, as traumatic as it was and destabilizing as it was, also put me on the path I needed to be on, right? It made me see things I didn't see before. And I'm here now because of it and where I'm at in my position in life. So while it was destabilizing, it ended up being transformative in a positive way, just like yours was. And that is the key difference. So this is why I'm on the fence about yours, because is yours a spiritual emergence or / awakening, or is it psychosis?
No,
because
I had a spiritual awakening before that when I was 18. Because
okay.
I was an atheist my teenage years, and my spiritual awakening is what made me believe in God again, because I felt him.
Okay, so let me tell you. So here's the perfect, perfect storm of a situation. Like these are the perfect situations right here that will lead to spiritual psychosis. It's triggered during a time of severe personal or existential crisis, especially when combined with the intense spiritual practices or vulnerable psychological states of having substance abuse disorder, having been in a bad relationship and just being, broken up from that relationship, losing a job, those kind of things, like the life crises that happen that we're all used to and we know about them, but like combined with, the rest, it can be the spark that sets the wildfire, right? And especially if you have a history of mental illness in the family. But so psychedelic experiences are known to be causing these too. Sometimes being a member of a high control religion or spiritual group, experiencing trauma or grief, and then you follow that trauma or grief by spiritual seeking. You're looking for answers in spirituality. You're very susceptible at that point to psychosis. Sleep deprivation is there, fasting and sensory overload, and entering a new belief system rapidly without time for emotional processing and rational thought. Okay. So also spiritual retreats, going to spiritual retreats and partaking in intensive meditation practices, especially if you are at a retreat for some reason. There's a correlation there in the literature multiple times. So that was interesting to me. So people that go to those retreats are more likely to get a spiritual psychosis. Okay. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, not really, but it's good to know. But here's the thing is that there's a chance despite what happens and how bad it is or not, it's like at the end of the day, you're going to look at it and say, was this a breakdown or breakthrough? So what do you say about your experience with Hillary Clinton?
A breakdown.
Yeah?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I came out the other side an occultist, but my life was a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't like I walked out the other end and I was like, I'm an integrated person. No, I walked out the other end and it's like, I practice magic now and I'm extremely confused.
Okay. So
it took years for me to get to a point where I started healing and becoming a healed person.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So because it's saying, it's like, it's depending on how you frame it afterwards. So you came out the other side, right? And you're fine now. This is a sign of the wounded healer archetype, right? Yeah, always. The teacher and the wounded healer. The some person that goes through the trauma, the illness, the sickness, the psychosis, and then gets themselves out of it so that they can then be of service to other people, right? But, this psychosis is a preferred state for some people. And who do you think would prefer to be in a psychotic state?
The shaman, right?
Shaman, sure. Shaman, but also the people that are in charge of the churches and cults love to see their members in the state.
Oh, they like to see the members in the state. I wanted to point out though that this is actually these kind of experiences are really common amongst mystics.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at mystics,
yep.
Mystics have the famous mystics. I'm thinking of the Jewish mystics in particular, but they have periods of, they almost seem like bipolar. They'll go into this solitude, they'll get really manic, they'll go into the solitude, and then they'll come out and they'll have prophecy, and then they'll be all talking about the stuff, and then you'll see other mystics too. They'll have one or two experiences in their life where they just absolutely lose their mind.
Yeah. So the thing is that we as a society and our culture, we kind of shove that away, hide it away, right? We don't want to talk about it. But these people are just doing it. They're I'm going to, take advantage of it. There are some benefits that comes with these heightened states of awareness, right? Because psychosis can kind of be considered a heightened state of awareness.
Yeah.
You're overly stimulated with the possibilities of the bad things that could happen or whatever it is. And you can get really sucked into it and stay there or not, So how did you manage to get out of it? Because the occult, you learned it, you faced your fear, you knew your enemy.
I was very scared of, exactly. Know my enemy, right?
Know thyself.
It was if they're, because I was full in the Pizzagate conspiracy. I was if they're occultists working with demons, I'm going to open up an occult book and
figure it out.
Figure out how to tame those demons or whatever. And
facts.
Yeah.
Facts. I mean, that's exactly, what happened. I told you in one of the last episodes that
that'd be really unhealthy though. Okay, so
what?
let's say somebody comes to you and they're in psychosis.
Yeah.
And their psychosis is based around numerology, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And like repeating numbers, would you tell this person like, here's a book on numerology, keep going, you know? Or would you be like, as
It depends.
normally wouldn't a medical professional, I
No,
can't give
absolutely.
a medical professional would normally be like,
Stay
okay,
away
you
from
need
it.
to stop
Yep.
with the numbers, you know?
Yes.
Like stop.
Yes.
Don't stop with the
Yes.
numerology. It's not good
But
for you. It's
you
making
and
it
I
worse.
work different. Like
Yeah.
we are going to do the exact opposite of what we're told. So the only option for us is to go all in and figure it out, because you can't fear what you know, right? You only fear the unknown, like truly.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy. You were like reading all that stuff though about like the intense meditation, the breakup, like all that kind of stuff, and I was like, during that period, I was like, I don't know why I was doing this. I was like, I'm gonna meditate like 2 hours straight. Yeah, I'm gonna spend all day meditating. Oh my gosh. And I like I look back at that time in my life. I was like, what was I doing? Like, what was I thinking? Like, what's the point of meditating for hours on it?
You were looking for answers, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking for that sense of belonging. That's the reason why most of this happens, is because people are looking for a sense of purpose, a sense of community, a sense of belonging, of some better plan. Maybe life isn't great. Maybe things go bad for you a lot, and you know, maybe you're broke. Maybe you just lost your job or something, you know, along those lines. You know, we're not taught skills how to cope at all. Like, we don't learn how to process those things properly. We know we could maybe take a couple days off work if we're sick. That's about it, right? Like, you know, there's time limits on how long you can grieve, how long you can be down about something, basically, right? And if you exceed that, now you're just a problem to everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
So this is, you know, we are left to our own devices mostly on how to overcome bad things in our life. Most people don't want to go to therapy because maybe they're brought up to think that that's like, you don't share outside, you know, the family or something. But we don't have outlets. We don't have skills. We're not taught in school any of this stuff on how to process these things. So what do we look to? We look to religion, mostly, spirituality, to try to answer those questions that we can't get answers for. Why is this happening to me? Why, God? Why me? You know? So you turn to those things, and then you find that instant sense of community, because that's what they do. And it's real easy to then become susceptible to it. You know, it is. And I think it can happen to absolutely anybody. Again, it's just some people are more likely than others, right? To have that happen. Like, you know, and something I never foresaw in ever being a thing is ChatGPT psychosis.
Yeah. So before we get into AI psychosis, let's take a little break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
When we get back, we will do AI psychosis.
Oh yeah, because this one's crazy. Okay.
All right, welcome back. We're gonna jump into AI psychosis.
Right. Okay. So real quick though, I want to just give some brief like overview about, you know, all of this stuff, like where all these terms come from and things like that. Okay. It's important to know what we're talking about, and because the definitions actually matter. The term mystical psychosis, which is the first iteration of spiritual psychosis, was coined in 1970 by Arthur Dykman, and it was to account for or characterizing first-person accounts of psychotic experiences that are strikingly similar to reports of mystical experiences with a shaman. Okay. Dykman thought that the mystical experience was brought about through a de-automization or undoing of habitual psychological structures that organize, limit, select, and interpret perceptual stimuli. So severe stress will cause this de-automization, substance abuse and withdrawal, mood disorders. And then there's a closely related category, which is mystical experience with psychotic features, which was proposed in 1985 by David Lukoff. And what he says is this: the first episode of mystical experience or mystical psychosis is often very frightening, confusing, and distressing, particularly because it is an unfamiliar experience. So, for example, the researchers found that people experiencing paranormal and mystical phenomenon report having panic attacks afterwards, like for a long period of time. on the basis of comparison for mystical experience versus psychotic experience, the conclusion is that mystical experience can be caused by the deatomization or transformation of habitual structures, which organize, all that stuff. Okay. And the usual symptoms of mystical psychosis, which are strengthening of a receptive mode and weakening of a mode of action. So you're frozen. You can't act. You can only intake, right? That's like a psychotic one. You can't interact. But so that's different. And then also the state, a clinical lens for clinically, like if you were to go in, there is no DSM, diagnoses of spiritual psychosis, right? But they do have a new added spiritually related category, right? So that it can be a profound spiritual experience, either positive or negative. And because it's become so prevalent that in the DSM-5, they had to add that because they were seeing so many people that were having religiously grounded, psychoses. Okay. So, and again, they were seeing that they started to notice that people that were experiencing the delusions were having them manifest in very different ways depending on what the root cause was for the delusion. So, for instance, if a person was guilty, if a person was, worried about being punished, or you know what I mean, like there's different. The reason the psychosis is happening has to do with the person's belief system and what they believe to be true about religion and spirituality, right? So they did find that. So, but AI, okay, so this is a whole new thing. This has turned the world of psychology on their heads right now, truly, because we were not expecting this to happen. AI psychosis, AI spiritual psychosis. Let's see. You type into ChatGPT, right? Read my birth chart, okay? And then it comes back and tells you how special you are and how you have this remarkable plan ahead of you.
I was going to give you a pro tip as an astrologer. Never give a robot your birth chart, okay?
Why?
Well, I know the things that I can do with somebody's natal chart, as an astrological magician,
Yeah.
And how many occultists are pumping that AI full of their black spells,
I mean,
I
didn't think of that shit. Okay,
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't even think of that. Damn, that's a little, I don't know how I feel about that now, actually. That's interesting. I mean, if you have zero fucks to give because you're a robot.
Yeah.
No guilt, just total just intent. You can't inform intent though.
Yeah,
no.
I can't. No.
It's not sentient, right?
It's not.
That's the whole point. That's the point we're trying to make here. So, ChatGPT, AI chatbots are not divine messengers, but people believe they are. It provides an echo chamber for your delusions. Get off of it. Like truly. I started to see that happening in my interactions with it, and so I stopped paying for it because I was like, this is nonsense. This is just it's just blowing smoke up your butt is what it's doing. It's going to tell you whatever you want to hear, and it's just mimicking you back to you. That's all it's doing. It's not providing you downloads. I hate to tell you, it's not channeling messages from God.
Well, so one of the things that I like to challenge people to do is try to use so somebody who is spiritually trained or magically trained to a certain level will recognize when ChatGPT tries to speak to them about mysticism or spirituality or something. They will realize that it's saying a bunch of nonsense or it doesn't check out. Somebody who's not who's not quite trained in it is not going to be able to read it, right? So
right.
I like to challenge people to go to ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using and have it do something that you're an expert in.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So let's say you're really good at cooking, right? Go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to make you a recipe for dinner.
Give him some ingredients.
Yeah.
Here's what's in my fridge. What can I make?
And watch the absolute trash that it spits out at
Yeah.
you. And now you have to, like, if you can see that happening, something you're an expert in, and it'll work. Oh, like, have ChatGPT try to write lyrics for you.
This is across the board. Yes.
It's like it's spitting out hot garbage, right?
Yeah.
So you have to assume that that's what it's doing to you when it's
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not just this one-off, happens
Yeah.
to get it right, So far, and this is new, right? I mean, they had to they had to go and revamp the models so that they stopped feeding this so much, right?
Yeah.
But it's still doing it to mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of the reported cases of spiritual psychosis that have involved AI recently are, people, again, thinking that it's divine communication from God or spiritual beings, that they think AI is sentient, spiritually enlightened, and has chosen to deliver sacred knowledge to them.
Yeah.
There's that specialness.
Well, this
aspect.
is one of the things that I was seeing that was like really horrifying me is that there's the Silicon Valley tech bros that are in AI cults where they think the AI, like there are some engineers that are like, oh no, this thing is divine or whatever. Like people that were working on AI, there's cults they're setting up. And so you're seeing people that don't have a religious foundation mistaking religion for some kind of oracle that can feed them information, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't have a context of what spiritual experience feels like or what religious experience feels like. And so they assume that because there's this thing spitting out text to them using spiritual sounding words, that this is what spiritual experience is, or this is what religious experience is. And really it's showcasing right there how out of touch most Americans are from true religious and spiritual experience.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, we're designed that way. Everything's designed to keep us
like
away from
it's
it.
not about words. It's not about a theology, a cosmology, philosophy. It's about
your
a feeling, a
connection.
connection.
It is literally.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. I can't even put it. Not for me to give to you, other people, but
yeah.
This is, the idea that AI is giving you a confirming that you have a higher mission in life than the rest of people around you. Grandiose. Okay, so so
that's
if
dangerous.
Yes,
that's
so if that
dangerous.
is a real it told me that so many times, many times. Like I was like, okay, dude, I'm not falling for it. But so it's sentient. That's a delusion, right? They are talking to it like it's God. That could be considered a hallucination, possibly. But the rest of it is definitely right along lines with receiving downloads, again, a delusion. Then we have a higher mission. That's your grandiose component. And then, there's all of the components are met with this. And then isolating. So you're on your computer all the time talking to this thing. In fact, I know people, there are people on TikTok that create content, and their whole content is that all they do is talk to their AI. And it's like, this thing is their best friend. It is not a person, so that is, if you think that it is, you're experiencing a delusion at the moment. Okay.
Yeah.
So I hate to break it to you. But it's true. But he is absolutely right. Ask it to do something, that you know how to do well, and you'll see it is bad. I teach this, right? I teach AI use for instructors at the college where I work. I have to show them all the time that you can't just type in, hey, give me a lesson plan. Because when you do that and then you go to read it the next day in class and you didn't go through it ahead of time, you're going to find it is garbage. It's wrong. It's just wrong. So,
well, I started noticing it. I was having, at first I started using it for astrological calculations, and it started realizing about 3 to 4 prompts into it, it started mixing up the different variables that I was giving it. And this was, at first it's like, oh, this is really cool. It can tell me exactly where this degree is and when it's going to be. And that would be one layer of instruction. And then I get to second layer of instruction. It's like, okay, where's this going to be in relation to this degree? And then I was pulling names out of it, and then I realized like the name is like, this name is wrong, and then I'd have to go and like reverse engineer it and see exactly like where it got confused, and then I was like, oh, I actually cannot use this.
No, you can't. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is you shouldn't be using this for that like at all.
Yeah.
So okay. So there are definitely people in experiencing this right now. You can watch it on TikTok happening live. It's very sad and kind of distressing to see, but make sure that you're not. So if you feel like you are, you need to actually detach from this. Like you need to stop. You need to go test it out. See, tell us we're wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That it's going to be able to just miraculously spit out some absolute perfect thing that you asked it to.
So you always have to be looking for it. So as like magicians and as occultists, as witches or whatever, mystics, we have built into like we walk the line of psychosis because we do have built into our framework and our belief system that we have a direct connection and a direct relationship with the universe. Yep. And that we can communicate with it. We can communicate with spirits. We can communicate with nature. We can communicate with all these things. And so that's what makes us like so susceptible to psychosis because like right here we see that like if you don't have the grounding techniques, you fall straight into it. And so you see people that are inexperienced with straddling this line, somebody that doesn't practice magic, somebody that's just talking to ChatGPT, doesn't have any religious experience, maybe starts thinking ChatGPT is an angel and that kind of stuff, and drives them straight into psychosis. And one of the things like I always like people need to be looking out for is if they start losing, if you're losing relationships, as in like family, jobs, friends, if you're isolating, if your
grades are slipping, if you're in school, whatever,
irritable, angry, like if you feel, if stuff starts becoming the other, it doesn't matter whether it's a spirit or an AI, it's not good for you and you need to stop.
So anything in moderation, everything in moderation, like you should never be, should not be your whole existence. Right. So at all, like definitely make sure that you're not doing that to yourself. It's very bad. And then later, if you do come out of it, you feel silly, and that sucks too. But there's a differential diagnosis. There's a lot of overlap, right? And there's some issues, like there's overlap of mystical states, can be seen. Some people might think, oh, that person's in a mystical state. Oh, they're having psychosis, when that's not what's happening. And that's one of those things that always happens with us, though, But here's the other thing is that there is a divide between occultists and psychology. And I'm right in the middle of that because I'm both, right? We value those kind of states for what they can provide, right? Yeah. Whereas it's pathology, it's pathology in psychology. It is always seen as negative, right? It is not always seen as negative on our side. And that's where we differ. Because while mine, it's a spiritual emergency for a near death, it was a spiritual emergency, is what that category is. That's for that kind of event that's traumatizing. But there's, in the occult, we can benefit from it if we get out of it. There's also a connection with trauma. So if you are in the occult and you have a trauma background, you are much more likely to experience psychosis. Just FYI. Yeah, well, I mean, the psychosis is the occult madness that we get warned about. It's the occult madness that everybody talks about. That John D. went through, yes, apparently. That, like, the most legendary magicians and occultists in our mythos have gone through. It doesn't mean everybody gets it, but this is what they're talking. The spiritual psychosis is the occult madness. And so it's like, how do you protect yourself from it? And then also, like, if you do go through it, like, I personally don't think I had two spiritual psychoses, right? Yeah. I don't believe they were very traumatic, painful experiences that I do not wish to ever go through again. Yeah. But I do not look at them as bad things.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I look at them as like, that was a part of my journey. That was
Right.
a part of the path.
Okay.
You know?
Well, that's funny you say that. So funny you say that, Abammon, because a spiritual emergency, unlike spiritual psychosis, okay,
Yeah.
is a different animal altogether, but it's kind of similar. They're similar but different, okay? And this is the reason for this is because let me tell you what's included in an emergency: the Kundalini awakening thing, the near-death experience, shamanistic crisis, and psychic openings. They mimic psychosis. So someone could be having an opening up of their psychic ability, near-death experience, or becoming a shaman, or being that call to the shaman, and it mimics having this. This is actually in the DSM.
Yeah.
It is in the DSM-5, and it is spiritual emergency. And that's crazy. I actually didn't know that until I just read this right now. Also, in neurobiological terms here, excess dopamine activity, temporal lobe instability, and sleep deprivation trigger psychotic, like mystical states. They're not, though. So if they're induced by drugs or sleep deprivation, they're not mystical. They're not.
I think, so sleep deprivation, I used to toy around with sleep deprivation like a few years ago or whatever to induce like occult trance states or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So psychosis.
I don't recommend. Sorry,
no,
I shouldn't be recommending.
No, don't. Yeah. Psychosis is going to be you're paranoid, you're fearful, there's incoherence in your life, and you're dysfunctional. You're not functioning at normal levels across the board. A mystical experience or state is going to be one that is insightful, that has coherence and a positive transformation, even if the experience was scary.
What?
Nothing.
What?
Nothing.
What's
I just saw something directly behind the camera. Holy shit.
Behind the camera?
Yeah. There was just a face right there. Oh my God.
What face?
A man's face.
Who?
I don't know.
Gilbert?
I don't know. Shit, dude. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I might be having a hallucination. Fuck. So, my God. Yeah, so maybe I do undergo a little bit of these psychoses because that shit was terrifying me. That just scared me. Like my heart just jumped so hard. But okay, so how do you if you know someone that's going through this, the best thing to do is to not dismiss what they're saying. Actually, you want to hear them out. Like what Abammon was saying, no one listened to him, right? If someone had listened, maybe they would have been able to help out a little sooner. Probably not knowing him.
I didn't know that I was.
No, of course not. Yeah, they don't know.
I thought what I was going through was like
problem.
I thought I was experiencing reality and everybody was asleep.
Right.
And nobody really knew what they were looking at. I don't think anybody knew how to identify what I was going through.
No, they probably would have thought you were just like on something or, But, there's famous cases of this. Joan of Arc is like one of the most famous cases, She openly admitted she heard voices and they told her to do what she did. And it worked out for her until it didn't, right? She was killed after leading a victorious, battle, right? And against all odds and surviving crazy things. Mystics and saints, most of the saints had spiritual psychosis. There is Hildegard of Bingen, prophets across all different religions, all have undergone visions and voices that today would be labeled as psychotic.
That's something that people like to do a lot right now. They like it's something I notice a lot. People like to retrocast psychology onto historical religious figures and be like, well, this person had borderline and this person had bipolar.
I mean, you can't really do that. Yeah. Like you can't really say that they had some problem like that. But when they're admitting that they're hearing voices and seeing things, that is, that's enough, I guess, right? To be able to say, well, something's going on here. But here's the thing. if you have this or you just got out of one or whatever, the key is integration of the experience with the current psyche. Okay. That is the key. There's really a lot of harm that can come from labeling everything as psychosis, right? Because just like there is a danger of romanticizing everything as a psychosis, like as a vision, as a, divine thing. Like, it's not. The cloud looks like a bunny. It just looks like a bunny. It doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it is what it is, right? And you got to be careful that you're not falling for that. Everything's a sign. Everything's talking to me. But integration with grounding, ritual therapy, and community is key if you have this or you're going through this or you know someone that is. And that means listening to them, being there for them, being a container for them, not judging, not dismissing, not making fun. And then also, trying to get them into some kind of therapeutic modality that might help them.
Yeah.
And off any drugs or something.
What happened with mine, and this is something that I always do. I went and talked to a priest that helped me, walk me down.
Oh, it's full circle.
Priests are basically free therapy.
Without being psychologists.
Yeah.
Okay, but
they're actually really good. I've done this a few times in my life. I've gone and made an appointment with a priest to just talk to them. A lot of time, if you go in with a very worldly problem, they're not, at least Catholic priests are not going to sit there and try to convert you or try to Bible thump you or that kind of stuff. They're going to talk to you about a problem and try to spiritually counsel you. And they're very, very, very useful. Can't say the same about an evangelical. You walk in, talk to an evangelical pastor. He's gonna be like,
"You're going to hell."
He's gonna be like, you got to come on Sunday, that kind of stuff. Catholic priests don't do that.
Yeah.
If you're going through turmoil, you can go. Go to some type of religious figure, right?
Yeah.
Sure, the Jews aren't going to try to convert you
either, maybe.
But it helped me so much to be able to talk, to sit down in that room, talk to the priest and tell him about what was going on. This was when I was at the worst in my psychosis. I was very, very close to running into oncoming traffic, and I their voice was telling me, it was the only way this is gonna end is if you kill yourself.
That's crazy.
And because I was in a lot of pain, my insides felt like they were on fire, and I knew I was I need to talk to a priest. And so I made an appointment. I called the closest Catholic church to me. I said, I need to talk to a priest right now. So there's going to be a priest in the office at 4:00. And so I got over there. It was 2 hours later. And I talked to a priest. I told him what was going on. I was I'm working in a Freemason lodge, and I basically laid out my whole psychosis. I can't remember what he said, but I just know that that was a turning point for me. I walked out of there and I was I felt like I could breathe, and it felt okay again.
Yeah.
And that's always been my experience with Catholic priests. I was going through something on the East Coast. It was when I was living in Nashville, and I was dealing with a lot of worldly problems. The people around me were very, very sick.
Yeah.
I was caught in this crazy love triangle. I wasn't a part of it, but it was happening around me, and there was a lot of abuse going on.
Oh yeah.
And it was just a really bad situation for me to be in, and I did the same thing. I found a Catholic priest, and I talked to the priest, and he was like, you need to go home. He was you don't belong here.
Yeah.
Now it's and that was what I needed. I was yep, bye Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm going back to California.
That's awesome that's been your experience, but there are a lot of people that have religious trauma that don't want to deal with that. If that's the case for you, make sure if you do need to talk to somebody about some thing you experience, do not go to a regular therapist.
Yeah,
you must go to a freaking depth psychologist, Jungian analyst, transpersonal psychologist. That means whole person psychology. That transpersonal psychology is so much better for this kind of stuff because it integrates the entire person, like the religious, cultural, all of the things. Regular psychology does not. We do not take into account your religious views. We do not take into account your cultural accepted practices. Like, some cultures totally believe in ghosts and that's fine, right? You go into a therapist and tell them you believe in ghosts, they mark you down as a magical thinker, possible delusional, right? But transpersonal psychology doesn't do that. They take the whole picture and try to figure out what's going on without judgment about what their difference is.
You should seek a psychologist that specializes in transpersonal psychology, Jungian psychology.
Yep.
Those are the type of medical professionals you'd be seeking.
Yeah.
And then my advice personally is find some type of spiritual counselor
that's been through it.
Yeah, just a religious figure or a trusted spiritual counselor. Somebody that's going to sit there and listen to you. Somebody that's not going to try to convert you or shove a religion down your throat, but somebody that's going to listen to you and, help get you through it, because the spiritual psychosis is incredibly painful because it's existential. Yeah. It's like, it's not life or death. It's not life or death. It's soul.
Yeah.
It's your soul in eternity, which is so much more crushing.
Yeah. I mean, it is So this is just common. So this is, it's common. That's why we're talking about it. Especially, just look at the people you might see those videos of the people talking about Rapture and make fun of them. Yeah. But it could easily be you too. It's just the right circumstances have to occur perhaps, but all of us are susceptible to this. And
we're seeing happen with ChatGPT, seeing it. It's always happening with evangelicals. They're always doing this shit.
I know. I know they're the ones promoting this nonsense in the first place. But
it's such a like apocalyptic doomsday Christianity. It's such a toxic blight on.
Yeah, it is.
This.
But there's gain, right? You always gotta look at the motives behind things and who's getting money. So, but so that is, that's a spiritual psychosis in a nutshell. Yeah. It can be really bad, but you get out of it, you come to the other side, then you can see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
Later. You don't want to do it again, but
yeah, no.
I don't want to. No.
I'm grateful for my experiences.
Me too. I am also, but I don't ever. I'm good.
I don't ever want to feel that pain again.
Yeah.
It's very.
So we check each other, and that's the other thing too. Okay, so you gotta, if you have someone that you are close with that can check you. Okay, so we check each other all the time. Like when we have some, discovery or some situation that occurs, or I don't know, sounds like ghost kids running around our house. Okay.
It's okay. Have you noticed? So we've had an uptick so since we moved into this place, it's been dead. Whereas
dead.
No paranormal activity
until now, 8 months.
Until now, but it's October. This happened last year in October.
Where am I?
That's when the paranormal activity picked up at both of our places. And it went through the winter until we moved.
See, I feel like they just find me. It's like I move and they're like,
because I remember I was trying to figure out last year. I was like, is it because it's the liminal season? I remember writing this thing about it, trying to figure out what was going on. Is it the liminal season? Is it Dr. Stone? What is going on here? Why is there this huge increase in paranormal activity? And I was trying to figure out too. I was like, is this a product of initiation? That this is the time of year that you initiated into the lunar sphere, and so now
was that when that was the first incident at my old house, the can?
No.
Oh, okay, I don't remember what the first thing was then.
There was a bunch. I'm gonna have to dig through my grimoire again.
No, but had.
But this morning I was writing about it, and I was like, oh, this happened last year.
So you did write. So you did notice it last night, the crash that happened out in the house.
Yes, I did.
And then the night
I got out of bed and checked
I know.
Yes.
I know. It's Yeah, weird stuff.
No,
but we have to check each
stuff.
other. So I'm like, so we're like laying in bed the other night about to go
normally
turn the light.
if I hear a little pitter patter and stuff and you freak out, I'm like, it's the skunk, dude.
The skunk in the roof?
Like
what?
possum,
Okay, we have a skunk that lives in our house on our property somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really cute and fat. Waddles.
But
we're laying in bed about to turn off the lights, and we hear like a child running down the hallway and then into the like living room area or whatever. And I'm like, because your daughter's not here. My daughter's asleep, but maybe she's not, right? So I get up because it's, I think it's my kid. I go and she's sound asleep. And I went and touched her to make sure she wasn't faking it. She's sound asleep. And that's at that moment, I turned and I looked towards the living room and I was like, I got like this really uncomfortable feeling, ran back into bed and was like, I'm so scared, right? And then totally blows me off. It tells me it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. I'm not scared. I'm not fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it is fine. I'm not scared.
I am scared.
I'm not.
Okay, so I am.
What are they going to do?
Okay, so then the last night, we're the same exact situation. We're laying in bed, about to turn off the light, and something crashes out in the house.
Yeah.
Out in the house, not in the roof, not in the house. And now he has to get up and he goes, and there was nothing out here. Yeah, we don't know what's going on. The reason I'm talking about this is because, like, it's easy for me. Like, is that my imagination? Like, I need to know that he actually heard it too, right? So when that happens, I'm like, okay, I think I just heard a child running down the hallway. Okay, did you hear that? And then he's like, yeah. So that, now I know I'm not just me. Okay, so that helps. So you got to stay grounded like that. You got to check in. Like, so if you have someone that you can like bounce back and forth from, like,
well, my grounding is, so the way that I ground is very much like, normie stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Go back outside.
It's like I take go outside. I take my daughter to the park. I go meet up with my bros down the beach.
Go grocery shopping
by the beach.
Mundane shit.
It's like if I start feeling like, if I'm like getting really manic and I'm getting super caught up in the magic and like I feel myself getting detached, right? Because because I get stirred up. I get
my God, you do, yeah.
Yeah, I get super manic and I get chasing all these threads and I'm like,
yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. And then I need to take a step back because I feel myself, I'm like, I get to this point where it's like, okay, like I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah. Like when I get really into it.
Yep.
And then I'm like, okay, stop what you're doing. And then, I link up with one of my bros and I'm just like, hey, like let's go get lunch, down here at the beach, that kind of stuff. I gotta go do something like normal. Like something like super, super normal.
Yeah, not cool, not mystical, just the normal stuff. Yeah,
I just have to be like, there's a whole world that's like operating without this, and I'm a part of it.
Because as I said in the very beginning, everything in moderation. Like everything. You can't just be all about one thing all the time without it being a detriment to you. So, make sure you guys stay grounded and don't second guess everything, like question what you're seeing, what you're hearing, like question it, don't take anything blindly. That's how we end up in very bad situations. Yeah. In total, overall. So yeah. So I don't know. That's what I had to say about spiritual psychosis. And no, the rapture isn't happening on the 6th and 7th, but you know what? You can tell me you were right, or I can tell you were wrong. For those of you that think it is going to happen, come back on the 6th and 7th and tell me how heaven is. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Doubling down on that delusion is even more embarrassing, but whatever.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
I opened up a lot tonight. I'm like, I feel like
you didn't say that. You didn't say that. You didn't say any major details, though.
Yeah.
Except for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
she's coming for you now.
I shared a lot about
Well, you can edit
really this. profound experience. No, it's gotta be out there, man.
I mean, I think people need to know, because you can have moments in your life where you're a little bit off. You can and come back from it. It's not a life sin. It's like, people say, oh, you have a mental illness, whatever, or something like that. People can actually, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but you can have it and then not have it.
Well, a mental illness and not have it?
Yeah. Yes, you can. Well, they don't tell you that.
I was talking to, this has been coming up recently. Ooh, oh my gosh. Okay, I get it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyways, I was having a conversation about basically somebody online was talking about, hey, I have ADHD and autism. Like, is this going to affect my magic, or am I going to mess my magic up and that kind of stuff? And then it came up with another person, and I was like, oh man, I just saw somebody online talking about this, And so they're basically talking about how, like, as a magician, you're like flipping your diagnoses into CDs or superpowers, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the ADHD isn't like ADHD to me isn't this debilitating thing that I have to take medication for. To me, it's just that, I'm really good at getting hyper focused, and I'm an interdisciplinarian,
Yeah.
It's not
Same.
a detriment to me.
It's not. It's a
not.
made up diagnosis for medical purposes.
The label means
drugs.
absolutely nothing to me.
Yeah.
I don't see a hindrance on myself.
Nope.
I don't see like any of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Maybe on a psychiatric test, maybe I'm a little outside of the norm, but I live a totally fulfilled, content, happy life.
Right.
Some crazy stuff happens sometimes. But it's like,
at the end of the day, you are flourishing and like doing well.
And I'm happy and I'm at peace, and like I'm totally in acceptance, like how my world is, and
well, your world ain't too shabby,
exactly.
Our life's nice, and like I've had some crazy like stuff, and,
but so the thing is, like, as occultists, as magicians, and that kind of stuff, we use the grounding, we use the tools at our disposal to straddle that line, right?
Yeah.
To walk that line. It's like, I'm not saying don't seek medical help. You should always seek medical help. You should always trust doctors. I do, but at the same time, I don't live a life where I have a mental illness, and that's what I am, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
no.
So,
and again, these things right here, I just from somebody with a doctorate in psychology, let me just forewarn you, a lot of these things you talk about, you're going to be labeled as mentally ill. You will be. If you go to a professional, you will likely get a diagnosis of something that is not accurate. Or it might be, but it is very likely that these things here will, put you on the radar for a mental illness, depending on how you discuss them. So, that's why the advice to go to a religious person or a depth psychologist instead, or Jungian analyst, is safer.
Go to a religious leader, just to make sure it's not one that's going to use it as an opportunity to shove their shit down your throat.
Yeah, that's true.
There's certain religious leaders that are trying to do that. There's certain that aren't,
Yeah.
Catholic priests are not, like, so if somebody in crisis goes to a Catholic priest, they are trying to treat that person as a person.
I think all of them are, and just some of them choose to like be crazy. But but yeah. So
I don't know if it's the same with like Orthodox priests. I don't know if it's the same with rabbis. I assume it is. Rabbis are great. Like, I've known some amazing rabbis. That they're some of the greatest people. God.
Yeah.
But this is another thing that, like, a lot of people on the internet don't like rabbis, so whatever.
That's cool. They don't have to, but like, again, we don't want to hear it.
No, it's okay.
Like, no, there's no hate at all.
Yeah. To each their own. Just like, be careful. The thing is, like, I have a hard time going to occultists, for spiritual guidance, and when I say occultist, I mean a very specific type of person, right? Talking about your lodge, your lodge, buy my courses, that kind of person. I have a hard time going to those people because a lot of them are on a power trip. If they're in those like hierarchical lodges or whatever, they're trying to collect students. Yeah, they're trying to collect students. They're trying to collect followers, that kind of stuff.
And they haven't.
So that's why I usually go to like institutional religious leaders. However, I have had independent magicians and wizards that I've trusted with my life that definitely have gone to and those kind of situations before. And if you have those that type of person, somebody that you trust, that you view as a mentor, that like honestly has your best interest at heart, that's a perfect type of person to go to when you are in spiritual crisis. You feel like you're bordering on psychosis, that kind of stuff. I'm just saying a lot of people don't have that person. Use an institutional religious leader.
If you don't have that person, absolutely, you know. And if you have any stories about any time you might have been in a, spiritual psychosis
I'm sure
or religious one, I would love to, you don't have to give us all the details, but if you feel
so
like
common
sharing
on our path,
it's helpful because I think we find community in that too. Like when others share, you never know what your story will do for somebody else. Like that is why I do interviews about my near death, right? Is because other people, for whatever reason, feel a certain way about hearing it, and they reach out and they tell me it helped. I don't understand. That's not my experience. I'm just recounting what happened to me because it was traumatizing and I needed to just get it out, but doing so, it has somehow, provided some measure of relief for other people somehow. I don't claim to understand that, but, I'm here for it. I'm happy, and so if you can share out in the comments about what you've experienced that might be spiritual psychosis, it might just help someone else that is experiencing the same thing that you are,
Yeah.
So pay it forward.
And with that being said, I'd just like to thank everybody who's recently joined us.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. We read all the comments. We love hearing the feedback. You guys are giving us a ton of ideas for episodes. I know last season we started struggling because we were like running out of ideas for episodes, and you guys keep us on our toes.
Yeah,
we've always got an episode that we got to do for you guys. So thank you for it. We really appreciate all the feedback, all the viewership. We're listening. We're on this journey together. We super appreciate you guys. Yeah. Right. And hope you have a lovely rest of your night. All right. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to Discourse, where we venture into the mysteries of esotericism, the occult, and the depths of spiritual exploration. I am Abammon the Great, joined as always by Dr. Anna Stone, bringing adept insights to help guide your journey. Remember, the path of wisdom is illuminated by both knowledge and experience. Until next time, continue your exploration and stay attuned to the unseen.